I pray all day, throughout the day, when I'm happy, when I'm joyful, when I'm scared or nervous or anxious about something, in all different situations.
Yeah, for me, I pray whenever I have a tough decision to make, or a decision that I'm wrestling with between two different answers.
I mean, you can pray at any time, and I think as a Christian, God's ready to hear you whenever.
I pray all the time, especially when I have a tough work situation that's coming up and I feel like I need somebody, right beside me. Like, the prayer reinforces the relationship with God.
Before I put that coffee in my hand, before I take that bite, have I said, "Good morning, Lord?" And I find that the morning, early morning, is when I want to pray. And then during the day, of course, and to finish my night. But if I give the Lord that first time in the morning, it's kind of like giving the first 10%. He manages the rest of the day.
My small group encourages me to do is to set aside a time every day that I call my quiet time, that I read the Bible, I read my Bible study, fill in the blanks, I write some other things and do a good bit of praying, so that it's important to have that daily practice.
And I find that praying at night is still my best time. And sometimes my prayer goes on, and I find that I fall asleep and the amen doesn't come until the morning.
So my prayer life has been enhanced by really taking the time to do it, but also just in those moments where I'm stuck in traffic or frustrated about something that I'm dealing with, and taking a few minutes to just breathe and ask God for help and guidance.
We've felt the impact of prayer through just that comfort that God gives you as you pray. I think that as you pray, you feel God's power coming through you, and you have the ability to get through the day. We've seen the healing power in times of sadness. We've seen the healing power in times of illness. I think we've seen that healing power just during times when we're challenged, and God is there with us.
Oh, I think just as you can't help but not be changed. Prayer changes things, and prayer changes people. And I find that when I'm praying about a situation, oftentimes I'm changed first, and then the situation comes in line.
My father received a prayer blanket several years ago while he was going under an operation, and my mother would put it on his lap, and he would always say how comforting it was. And it wasn't until he was feeling better that he told my mom not to put it in the dryer anymore because it was so hot when she laid it on his lap. And she told him, "I don't put it in the dryer." And he turned to me and he said, "Well, could you tell the Falston church not to pray so hard because their prayers are so hot on his lap?" So I do know prayer works at this church.
Mostly one of my really good friends, he has some problems, and when I pray for him, I feel like it helps, and it does help because God's helping him get through like hard times, and he's doing better, and I'm feeling happy for him.
You know, we had a lady I work with had a husband that was on a wait list for a heart transplant many years ago, probably about 15 years ago now. And we knew about it, and at that time we didn't have a prayer list, but we would get up and say, "Please pray for somebody." And for a long time we thought about it, but never really thought, let's get up and say something. And I remember Debbie talked to me, my wife, says, "We should probably say something for Steve today." And I said, "You're right, we should. We haven't prayed for Steve." And I got up in church and said we had a friend and her husband needed a heart transplant. It's a 10 o'clock service. I got home from church that day and come to find out that Steve had been taken into the hospital and was actually getting his heart transplant that day. And 15 years later, he's still with us, has seen his son grow up, who's a senior in high school.